If the only reason that your clients are hanging around is because of how much they paid up front or because they signed a contract, you've got a hostage situation on your hands, not technically a coaching business. I get that you're confused, and I get that most mentors are telling you that you should be charging high ticket, selling packages, collecting paid in fulls, and tying people in with a contract. But what if that's actually damaging your business and damaging your retention and not helping it? In this video, I'm going to talk about three things. I'm going to talk about pricing. I'm going to talk about paid in fulls and packages versus monthly rolling coaching. And I'm going to talk about the use of contracts. More importantly, I'm going to give you alternative ways of looking at things and thinking about things so that you can then make your own decisions for yourself and for your business on how you want things to be set up. By the end of this video, you'll see how you set up your coaching right from the start actually shapes how long people stay and therefore the potential that they've got to achieve an incredible life-changing result. But before I get into it, if you're back again and you're enjoying these videos, make sure that you hit subscribe. So let's start with the big one first, pricing, because that's where a lot of people, coaches, are already being manipulated, even gaslit by the mentors. We've all heard this thing, right? People that pay more are better clients. They are more committed. They've got more skin in the game. They're more bought in. I know you've heard it all before because it's fucking all over Instagram and social media. That's the narrative that is rammed down our throats. But I'm telling you from personal experience, that is not the case. So when I first started coaching, I was charging £150 a month. Over time, as more people came and I started to get a little bit more experience and I started to churn out more results, I started to increase my price, and I did it gradually. I went from 150 to 175, 200, 225, 250, 275. And then there was actually a stage after I'd ran a launch where I was pretty much full and people were coming back to me that had decided not to go forwards in the launch, and my price was then set at £350. So there was a time where I was bringing people into the business for one-to-one coaching. Now, obviously, everything that I did was fairly heavy, fairly deep work. There was a lot of the actual behavior change, identity change things involved. So people were signing up at £350. And I can tell you for certain that there was no real differences in how bought in people were from 150 quid right up to 350 quid. There was no, they've got more skin in the game, they're going to be more committed. There was genuinely none of that. That is not something that I experienced. What I do know from personal experience, and the research supports this too, that actually the higher somebody pays, the higher price point people are paying for any service, not just coaching, the higher their expectations are. That's natural, right? Think about something that you've paid a lot of money for, whether it is a product, whether it is a service. It might even be a mentor that you're working with that maybe you're paying £1,000, 1,500 quid a month for. You're going to have pretty high expectations for that, right? You're going to think that actually the amount that I should be getting for this higher price point should be equivalent to that. You would expect to get way more for something for 350 quid a month than you would for 150 quid a month, right? And that would stand to reason. What the research actually shows us is that a higher price point negatively impacts retention. So I know that there's this thing at the minute that everybody wants to be able to say that they are a £300 a month coach, £350 a month coach. You see stuff out there, particularly in the American market. This person charges $500 a month. This person does that. It's like, okay, fucking sick. Cool. For what? What is it that they're delivering? Are they delivering a service that is worth that? And are their clients actually getting that amount of value from them? Or are they fantastic at marketing, fantastic at sales on the sales call, taking that money off people to then essentially deliver them shit wrapped in a fucking shiny ribbon to the point where that person then starts to get pissed off, leaves the service, has a bad experience, reputation starts to get spoiled. I see that happen a lot in the market, and that is something that we should be considering. So everybody says, yeah, you should be charging X, you should be charging Y. Charge your worth is another great one. How do you figure out what that is? We're told all of this stuff, but nobody actually sits and either teaches us how to run the numbers or gives us these alternative ways of thinking. We're told, you are a coach, you should be charging X. Okay, fucking sound. How did we land on that number? How did we pick that number? For me, it's fairly simple, right? You look at the maths, everybody wants to be able to say, yeah, I'm a 300 quid a month coach. But what if you're charging 300 quid a month, yeah? and people are only staying 6 months. We're going to move on to contracts. We're going to move on to packages. We're going to move on to paid in fulls shortly. But already thinking about it this way, right? If you're charging 300 quid a month and people are staying 6 months, which is not bad retention, already, there we go. Total lifetime value for that person is 1,800 quid. If you were able to drop your price, I know this is a mad way of thinking about things, but again, I'm just giving you examples here. If you were at 200 quid a month, would you need to work with more clients at any given time to earn the same amount on a monthly basis? Well, yeah, of course you would. But if you had 200 quid, if you were charging 200 quid a month for your coaching, this might sound a little bit mad, particularly because I do believe that a large part of coaching is setting and meeting expectations. But first and foremost, if people's expectations are slightly lower, that's not necessarily a bad thing. That gives you the opportunity to then meet and exceed their expectations. And who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want to pay for something and have their expectations blown out of the fucking water? So first and foremost, it lowers expectations a little bit. Secondly, it is less of a sting to that person's pocket. And we're not even talking about paid in fulls yet. We're going to move on to that. But assuming this is on a monthly basis, it's less of a sting in that person's pocket. Do you think that would mean they are less likely or more likely if for whatever reason, 1 month they don't feel like they've got the value, they don't feel like they've got 300 quid's worth of value? Would they be more likely or less likely at that point to go, fuck this, it's not worth it, I'm out, I'm either ghosting or I'm handing my notice in at 300 quid versus 200 quid? So already, and again, like I said, the research does support that actually a higher price point negatively impacts retention. So would you rather have 300 quid a month clients and get to say, I am a £300 a month coach, look at me, how fucking sick am I, and then leave after their initial commitment? Or would you rather have people that are paying 200 quid a month, lower expectations, enabling you to knock the socks off with the service, that stay longer? So you get a client that's paying 200 quid a month, and if we can increase that retention up to the 12-month mark, which is not unheard of, I've got loads of coaches inside the Amplifier actually doing that straight away. Even if we're just talking about the financial side of things, already, actually, by dropping your price, provided that you are providing the service that people are signing up for, you will earn more money lifetime if people are staying longer. And again, a lot of what I talk about, a lot of what I'm going to talk about in this video, like rides on the fact that you are a good coach and deliver a good service. That is ultimately the message for this video, is you should let your service do the talking and let your service be the reason why people decide to stay. So if we're looking at the financials already there, you drop your price, seems a little bit silly on the front end. Yes, you will have to work with more people. So what? More lives to change, more people to help over the long run, more income per client. And it should be obvious that if you get somebody, a client that is going to stay with you for 12 months, the potential to change their life, to have an incredibly profound impact on them and them achieve a result, them turn into an absolute cult member, them become a walking billboard, get you referrals, become an active member of your community. Obviously, the person that's been with you for 12 months plus is going to have the bigger potential to do that versus the person that has only been with you for 6 months. So then here's where this problem starts to get a little bit worse. Not just in how much you charge, but in how you charge. Now, again, the narrative, the thing that we're told is cash in the bank is better than cash not in the bank. You should collect paid in fulls. That way people have already invested the money. They're going to stay to the end. And I think, quite frankly, that is fucking bollocks. I really do. Will it increase cash flow? Of course it will. But if you're anything like me, you would rather have a predictable, stable income and be able to build your business month on month on month on month than go from feast to famine. I've been in that position previously. Maybe you have as well. The stress that comes with that feast and famine is fucking insane. This idea of, yeah, this month, all of my effort is going into this launch. I've open cart, I've closed cart. How sick am I? I've had a 12 grand month. Next month, back to £1,500, £2,000 on the few people that are paying you recurring because everybody's coming at the paid in full. So that's the idea, right? Is cash in the bank is better than cash not in the bank. Okay, sound. But what does that actually do for people staying in the business long term after that package has ended? In my opinion, there are quite a few downsides to this whole paid in full slash package versus the monthly ongoing coaching. The first and foremost is the obvious one, is that actually the barrier to entry is way higher for people. Let's make the maths really easy. If you are somebody that charges 250 quid a month for online coaching, and your paid in full version is, and I know that people have the paid in full and then will offer a payment plan. I do get that it's a fucking sales tactic. But if you're saying to people, sitting in front of them on a call, on the phone, whatever, and going, yep, it's £1,000 for 4 months. Do you think more or less people are going to have £1,000 readily available versus people that can pay 250 quid a month, get into the service, and then you knock their socks off with the service like I've already spoke about? Of course, fewer people are going to have £1,000 readily available. But the thing that you're told, the messaging, the narrative that your business mentor gives you is, well, we just need to get better at finding those people. You're just selling to the wrong people. You just need to find people with more disposable income. What? On what planet is that like the normal way to go about things? The second reason it causes stress, I firmly believe this, and again, work with hundreds of coaches inside the Amplifier that have come from business mentorships previously, had this set up, and have to have this conversation and help unpick it with them, is the friction that it causes the next time that you have to make that sale. You could have a 3-month package, a 4-month package, a 6-month package, whatever. At the end of that package, however long, we're going to go with 4 months for the example, you have to have another sales conversation. There is more friction. Do you want to re-sign? Do you want to continue? But if somebody's on a monthly rolling service, that conversation never has to happen. You sell them once at the lower price point, you bring them into the service, you fucking smash it out of the park with how good a coach you are, they buy in and they stay. The payment comes out every single month, like every other subscription that they've got. And hopefully your service is the thing that raises the value of that. So they're not going, okay, yeah, that's 250 quid every single month. I've got to budget it. I've got to do this. That's 200 quid. That's 150 quid, whatever that monthly is. The friction comes when you move towards the end of the package, right? We all know that people sign up for coaching when they are in a certain amount of pain or when they want to achieve something. They're either trying to avoid something, get away from something, or achieve something, move towards something, okay? Or a combination of both. Think about this logically. Somebody signs up, they come to you, and they are in, quite visual, so I like to draw these things out, right? I know this is ridiculous. That's the amount of pain that they're in. That's the visual representation of the amount of pain that this person is in. They sign up, they give you the £1,000, they sign up for 4 months of coaching, because that amount of pain, the stuff that they want to avoid, want to move away from, is worth £1,000 to them at that point when you've got them on the call, when you're asking them the questions and blah, 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 blah. And yes, there are anomalies to this. You will get some people that are the exception to the rule that do have way more disposable income and can just chuck money at things like that. But for the most part, in this day and age, I think this is the sort of people that you will be dealing with more often than not. One of two things has happened by the end of that 4-month period. Either it's not gone as well for them and as they would have hoped, and now you're having a conversation 3 months in, ready for the end of the package, to say, right, okay, I know things have not gone to plan. I know that you've not made the progress that maybe you would like to have. Do you want to give me another £1,000 for another 4 months? What would you do? What would you do if you'd signed up for something, dropped a load of money, and it had not worked, and then you got to the time where the person is trying to take more money off you? What would you say? Hopefully you'd say no. Or the alternative has happened. They have made progress. They have actually achieved some pretty cool stuff in the last 4 months, which is fucking great. So then that pain disappears. And now the amount of pain that they're in is this big. Is that then worth £1,000 to them? Maybe you will then offer monthly rolling at that point, maybe. But it's still friction. It's still another sales conversation where either they've not got what they wanted from the service, or they really have got what they wanted and actually don't see the need to invest again because now they're kind of all right. This amount of pain might be, if you want to offer them that drop down at that point, might be worth 250 quid to them. But how long does that last? Why are we creating, particularly when coaches for the most part don't like sales conversations, why are we forcing and setting our business up in a way that we have to have more of them even after people have paid us, even after people are working with us. Well, I'll tell you why. Because your business mentor told you to collect the paid in full, so then they can put a screenshot up saying you earned 12 grand this month. Fairly obvious to me. The alternative is a monthly rolling subscription setup. You have the conversation with them, they decide that you are the person to help them, they want to join, they pay you the whatever, 250 quid a month, and then that £250 comes out every single month like clockwork, without failure, without having more sales conversations. At that point, it is your service that needs to take over, which is the way that it should be. Every single month they go, is this still worth it? The answer, if you are doing your job, should be yes. The answer should be, yeah, absolutely. You will get to a point, and this has happened for me, people have told me this in my coaching business, okay? It will get to a point where you become that invaluable to them that 250 quid a month to them is no longer seen as a monthly expense that they've got to find the money for. It will get to the point where that's just something that comes out their account every month, just like the internet, just like the phone, just like the gas and electricity, provided that you are delivering the service that you are telling people that you can deliver in the first place. And like I said, I do get it. I know that what you're being told is that cash flow is king and that actually charging upfront in full gives you safety, but not really. Because people can still get in, realize that they're not getting the experience that they thought they would, that it's not worth the £1,000 or the 1,500 quid or whatever, and still have an issue and ask for a refund. For me, safety comes in predictability. I would much rather have recurring revenue where I know, okay, even if one or two clients disappear this month, that's not me having to sell two more people at £1,000 and now just have to replace those two clients paying whatever, 150 quid, 200 quid, 250 quid, whatever your pricing is. That's where the safety comes from, in my opinion, for me, who's done this, is predictability. Not just having cash in the bank because you found people that could afford to give it you all in one lump sum. There's another subject, which I'm not even going to get into, which is if you do operate in this feast and famine way, you then have to be really fucking good at managing your money and realizing that actually that £1,000 that I've collected isn't £1,000 in my bank now. I can't go around acting like a fucking baller. I've still got to take the tax off it. That's still 4 months worth of payment. So either way, you should be seeing it as recurring revenue. It's just, have I got it all now and the ability to make stupid decisions with it? Or do I know that it's coming in and can I now start to forecast and plan for the future because I've actually got recurring revenue set up in my business? And now finally, let's talk about contracts. Now, before I move into this, you absolutely should have some sort of terms and conditions agreement, verbally or otherwise, where people know what is expected of you, what is expected of them, how things work, what they are entitled to. For sure, you should have all of this stuff. What happens when they want to leave the coaching? Whether it is some sort of promise document, something where everybody is clear, both parties are clear on, this is what I'll provide, this is what I need from you, this is how it all works, let's get to work. Writing it up into a formal contract and getting people to sign it for whatever that package is, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, whatever, and them only staying for the duration of that contract and leaving afterwards is a pretty clear sign that actually you've got stuff to work on, and that actually if they could have left before that contract, and I'm going contract because everybody knows realistically, even if somebody does disappear, you're not going to enforce it. That's where you start to hold people hostage. If you go, you sign this thing that says you will pay for 6 months and they leave on the 6-month dot, I would argue that there's a very high chance that if they could have left earlier, in their eyes, they would have left earlier. And that's where people are being tied in by contracts. We're controlling people, not with our level of service, not with them actually wanting to stay, but just as a way to cover our backs to go, okay, but what if somebody comes and then leaves after 1 month? What if somebody comes and then leaves after 2 months? The reality is that's going to happen. We're dealing with human beings. You're going to talk to people and sign people into your business that maybe it's not the right fit. Maybe it's not the right time, because that is valid for some people. Maybe you're not the right coach for them. Maybe they actually thought they wanted something that they didn't. That does happen. It's part and parcel of what we do. It's the nature of the beast. But bringing in a contract to force payments out of people for however long, just so you feel like you've got some safety, in my opinion, is entirely the wrong way to go about things. Did I used to ask for a minimum commitment from my clients? Well, yes, I did. And I worded it to say, I've worked with X amount of people. These are all the results that I've got. You can see it. I was transparent about everything. In my opinion, bearing in mind, body and brain clients were on average, some of the data that I used to track, on average, 132 kilos when they started. If I'd have said to them, this is a 3-month package, and pre-trained them to thinking, okay, I'll be done in 3 months, I'd have been doing them a disservice. So I would say to them, I would like you to commit verbally for 6 months, because that's how long, in my experience, I've seen it take people to unlearn the bad habits, to start to make progress, to really start to make a dent in the fat loss that they've got to make. Every single one of my clients would agree to that. If at the 3-month mark they turn around and go, Lewis, either this is not for me, or Lewis, circumstances have changed, or Lewis, I'm just not in it anymore, then I wasn't dragging them kicking and screaming through for the next 3 months because I'd asked for a 6-month commitment, and I wasn't waving a contract in the face. So if you are utilizing contracts to tie people in, I would question, is it that you don't trust and back your service to do that for you? The final point that I will make on that is true commitment, true adherence, people really genuinely buying into the service, buying into the process, comes when they feel aligned and when they feel like it is something that they want to do, not because they feel like it's something that they've been forced to do. Contracts for me, and again, there are anomalies. This is not the case for everybody. But if people feel like they are being forced to do something because they've signed a contract, either they're likely to just ghost and completely disengage, or essentially just tick the boxes, go through the motions so that they can make sure they're on top of it at the end of their contract, so they can go, okay, thanks, here's my notice, I'm done now. And if you are currently using a contract, I just want to make it fully transparent that when I first started coaching, I got the advice that I should have a contract in place, and I got some generic stuff off Google, and I changed the names, and I asked people to sign it on Google Drive before I'd even got anything like DocuSign or anything like that. I did this too, and then eventually moved away from this model for the whole promise document. Here's what I expect of you. Here's what you can expect of me. Here's how everything works. Now let's get to work. I moved away from it for that sort of setup after. If people are currently staying because they feel like they have to and like they are forced to, imagine the impact and how it would feel if people were staying because they actually wanted to. Not because they've been forced to by the contract that they'd signed, because they joined up on the potentially lower price point. They'd not paid in full, so they didn't feel like they had to get the money's worth for the next 4 months. They had this subscription set up. The service that you deliver blows them away, and they actually want to engage and want to stick around and want to communicate and want to show that come towards energy and be the perfect client that you would like them to be. So just to summarize, higher price points, paid in fulls, packages, contracts could all actually be damaging your retention, your business, and your potential to have the impact that you want to. There are other ways to do things. All I'm trying to do with this video is A, challenge the way that you think about certain things, and B, give you that alternative perception so you can think and act for yourself, so you can make the decisions for yourself rather than just doing what you've been told by the first person with a bit of authority that tells you to do whatever it is that they think that you should do. Because remember, your business mentor isn't giving you the advice that is best for your clients. They're certainly not doing that. I would argue in a lot of cases, not all cases, they're also not giving you the advice that is best for you. They're giving you the advice that is best for them, that is giving them the highest probability of scraping social proof from you so they can continue to grow their business. And I know this seems mad, like I'm just ragging on business mentors, but that's not my social proof. How much money you earn as a coach is not my social proof. My social proof is the impact that you can have. How long can people stay in your service? Not even from a point of view of revenue and profit, but if you can keep people for as long as possible, that is way more impact that you can have and way more life-changing results that you can achieve with people. So if this has challenged how you think about business, or at very least challenged the narrative that we're told about how we should set up our business, I want you to do something. I want you to share this with other coaches that need to see it. And if you have found it useful, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, because there'll be loads more stuff coming like this. And finally, if there are any other things that you want to see me talk about, make sure you comment below and let me know.